Welcome to Care Sandwich, the podcast where we dive into the success journeys of law firm owners across the country. I'm Margarita Eberline, your host and the founder of Marketing Boss, a fractional chief marketing officer firm for law firms. On this show, we'll explore the challenges, strategies, and victories that have shaped law firms and how they wrap every interaction with care. Because we believe that caring isn't just a value, it's a strategy for success. So grab your favorite sandwich, sit back, and let's dig into a conversation filled with insight, inspiration, and of course, a lot of care. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Care Sandwich. I have Kimberly Lopez here, and she has a really neat organization. She's also an attorney. She's going to tell us all about herself. Kimberly is a Latina attorney. Little clue about what some of the stuff she's going to talk about is. And so Kimberly, tell us about yourself. What do you do? And tell us about your organization.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here. So my name is Kimberly Lopez, and I'm a commercial litigation partner with an AmLaw 100 firm. So in big law, my entire career. In that space, I handle the gamut of business disputes and contract disputes with a special focus on financial institutions and representing them in a variety of claims. I've been in big law my entire career, so approaching 17 years in the commercial litigation space. But about a year or two ago, I decided to kind of hone in on something that had been, in the back of my mind and just something I really wanted to do. And so I created the Latina Legal Minds. And at first it was just kind of a social media account. And then I bit the bullet and created a podcast. And from a podcast, we've now hosted a live event. And this year we're kicking off a mastermind program. So it's just my way of trying to change the narrative about Latinas in the profession, increase the numbers and just the experiences that we have in the profession, since the numbers definitely don't tell the proper story, and we want to change that.
I love that. And I'm all about like inclusion and diversity, but I do think there's value in having programs that are culturally relevant. Like in my personal life, I volunteer for a domestic violence organization called Caminar Latino, and they cater to Latino families, right? And I always get the question of, there's domestic violence in all sorts of families. And what I've learned with that program, and also through my own experience being a Latina, that it's nice to have programs that are uniquely tailored to things that you live, that you're going through. As I'm not in the legal field the way that you are, because I'm not an attorney, but I am in the legal space as a Latina, and I can just automatically appreciate that there are certain things that we go through. Like, there's less than, I think, 1% female especially female Latina like attorneys, just in the country. And so when you go to these events, when you're looking at like growing, and for me, I work with business owners, right? So Latina business owners, even more specifically, we have all this other like mindset stuff, cultural stuff that's just very unique in that space. So talk to us about what sort of transformations have you seen with your program?
I think, we're still early on, so I don't want to claim transformations just yet. But what was really...
That's a Latina mindset thing. I call imposter syndrome. No.
You called me out on it. Yeah. But what
brag on yourself, girl. Like, you did an event. Like, look at you. Come on. What transformations?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Just the fact that people showing up for the event, for me, like right there was like a transformation, right? Because I think so often, like you said, the Latina mindset is we put ourselves last. We deprioritize our own dreams, passions, wants, desires. And so when I was promoting the program, I was like, no, you deserve this time. You deserve to give yourself this space of a couple of hours where you can just kind of think about your dreams, set some goals, and make a plan for that. So I think the transformation were just for those who even showed up. And then by the end, it was awesome to hear people say, like, I never thought I could do that. Or I never thought about approaching my goals with the vision I want for my future. Because especially in the legal profession, it's kind of like we're checking boxes, and that's all we're doing is checking boxes. And not enough times do we stop and say, do I want this? Is this what I want? Is this what I want my life to look like? So that was definitely a transformation for sure, I think, for everyone who showed up and just gave themselves that time and space.
Yeah, and I'll describe what you described in a different way. And this is a pattern and not a judgment. I'm not trying to stereotype, but this is a pattern that I've seen because I'm a data analyst. The Latina, specifically Latina inclination is to be a workhorse. Whether you're an attorney or a marketer, right? We always see ourselves as workhorses. We don't necessarily see ourselves as leaders, as people that are going to break the mold, or as people that, take vacations and go like do luxurious things. Like it almost feels like we're discouraged from that. And I think that is a pattern. So I do think it's a really big deal that you created this event and that you created a space for Latinas in the legal space, because it's a high stress space, to really think about, why am I doing this? What am I getting out of this profession for me? Like just for me? I think that's very powerful. How many people did you have at your event?
Yeah, we had about 15 people. So it was nice and small. It was small, but we really liked that because it created like an open flowing discussion the entire day. And so we had different topics. We were talking about branding and, how to put your brand out there, how to promote for yourself, how to negotiate salary, the money talks that nobody teaches you about. So the whole day was an entire free flowing conversation, and everyone was really learning from each other's learned experiences. And then also kind of helping, especially those younger in their careers, kind of set forth like a path of what they wanted to achieve and how to get there.
And I bet, because I'm not just here to highlight the negative tendencies, the positive tendencies that we have is we always create a sisterhood wherever we go, right? I bet you created this I bet they still stay in touch, right?
Yeah. So everyone was right away like, we need everyone's contact information.
Yeah.
And, then they were like, oh, who is the person who did this type of work? And so from that, it was just learning, like, we need this continued space. So it kind of gave me the motivation to keep going with Latina Legal Minds, not only the podcast, but also creating this new, what I'm calling it the Vida Circle, because it's the sisterhood of like circle and just kind of sharing information and learning. So that's kind of the next step, to ensure that we're not having those conversations just one time a year, but that we have that platform and space to have that continue.
So tell me more about that. So describe that for me. So is this what the mastermind is?
Yeah, so I'm calling it a Vida Circle, which is a mastermind-like program, but essentially it runs for 6 months, different topics every other week. And in that circle, we'll kind of put people in the hot seat to kind of talk about their issues that they're seeing on the topic area or somewhere related, and get input from the group on how we can help that person solve the problem, solution, but also, helping each other set forth our vision, right? I think a lot of times, like I said before, we're just kind of going through the motions and don't know what we're aiming for. And so just setting that and helping each other set forth that vision and how to get there based on the learned experiences of the others in the circle.
That's awesome. And I can expand on, like, for me personally, it's been so powerful to make a habit out of asking myself, even just, what do I want out of any given situation? Because again, like, my tendency, and I do think this is a cultural thing, is to just do the work and, to think about serving others. And it's like in my DNA, like, and even as a mom, like, I catch myself with those patterns. And it's probably not even just I think it's a female thing too. Cause like, I read a Mel Robbins book where she talked about how professional women tend to do a lot of invisible tasks. So like at the office, right? The women are the ones that somehow end up washing the dishes and bringing him cupcakes and planning the birthday parties. And we do all this extra work that's invisible. And it's just a given that we do it and we put it on our shoulders. And so again, it kind of feeds into that pattern of like, we really do need to be intentional. And I really applaud you for creating that space so that people can commit to themselves, to ask themselves these questions, to take that time to pause and really focus on themselves in that way. Not to be cliche, but really put our own oxygen masks on first, right? That's part of that.
Yeah. And also too, like, having like a mirror, right? Because kind of how, like, in the beginning you called me out, like, no, that's imposter syndrome. So it's so much easier sometimes to see it for someone else, right? And so to have that circle or that group who can say time out, like, no, you're not bringing in the cupcakes again, right? Or they're forcing you into these, non-compensated work tasks. So just having that ability to kind of bounce ideas off of people, and having that mirror where people can stop you and say, wait a second, like, what's the purpose of this? Is this really aligned with where you want to be?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I think the magical thing for me that I've experienced is, as I've worked on these things for myself, I find that I become a greater asset. So it's like when I stop worrying about serving so much and I worry more about me, I end up serving better. Like, so it kind of works
Absolutely.
out. Like,
Yeah,
um,
no, absolutely. I mean, the same thing, like, people think, oh, if I just put my head down and do my work for my client, I'll be a good lawyer. But if you're just doing that, you're not seeing everything else and the things, even your clients want you to do that, because you can't just be so narrow focused, because you're not solving problems that way. You're only solving the problem they asked you to, but you're not helping them spot the other problems that they need solved.
Hey there, I hope you're enjoying the conversation and your sandwich as much as we are. I want to take a moment to share a few words about our sponsor, Marketing Boss. If you're a law firm owner looking to supercharge your growth, our team at Marketing Boss is here to help. We've got over a decade of experience and a proven track record, and we specialize in growing law firms like yours with data-driven marketing leadership. So if you own a law firm and you're ready to get a predictable, steady flow of cases from your marketing, let's connect at marketing-boss.com.
I think there's a mental wiring to it too, where when you wire yourself to approach things from a light, fun, this is what I want for me, like I'm going to say selfish air quotes place, you actually open up your ability to see opportunities, hidden dangers that you might not have spotted when you're like just checking off lists. Right. I know in the marketing space, that's for me, that's been a must. I can't afford not to be in that creative, positive space. Like in marketing, if I just focus on helping my client get out a campaign, but I don't really take the time to bring that like fun, creative energy that is focused on me and my own personal goal of like being the best and having fun with it and doing things that are different. Those are my personal goals that I know I can bring into my work. I see just a different result, and I see different like type of creativity like get born out of that when I have that approach. Absolutely. And I know it's the same in the legal space. I've hired attorneys myself, for some legal stuff, like a divorce attorney who I adore, business litigation attorneys, and the divorce attorney, like I connected with her so much because you could tell she was really bringing her like heart into it, her passion into it, from a place of, I had these like for her, she had these experiences and she wanted them to mean something. So that was like her selfish goal, that selfish again, right? Her goal, she brought into the space, and it made her a much better attorney for me. So, that's a scenario that I can think of. Can you think of, and if it's you, a transformation as far as just even lifestyle or career that like you would love to share to maybe encourage other Latinas that might be listening to this, or people that work with Latinas in the legal space, of like, okay, this is possible. What's possible?
I mean, anything's possible. I mean, that's just, you just have to really define what it is you want. And I think, transformation is, thinking back my own career, the one thing I always tell people is don't be afraid to advocate for yourself, right? And so when you get that, when you build that muscle of self-advocacy, I think it really goes a long way, particularly in the legal profession. Like I said before, so many of us come in thinking, if I just put my head down and do the work, I'll get rewarded and I'll continue progressing. But that's so far from the truth. Like, you really just need to advocate for yourself, for opportunities, and look at everything as an opportunity. I'm currently listening to the book, The Anxious Generation, and it's talking about just the change in childhoods with, smartphones and screens. But what was really interesting to me, was talking about, as children, we're constantly in discover mode, right? We're not fearful. We want to try new things because we see everything as an opportunity. As an adult, we often change to the opposite of that, in that everything presents a potential danger, or that we're not we don't have the tools to approach that situation. So it's just kind of always being in that discovery phase. I mean, I think the book helped me put words behind it, but I always just try to approach things like get curious about things, because that's where you're going to find the opportunities, and that's where you're going to really discover what it is you want.
How has your career changed since, or your professional life changed since you started doing this inner work, this intentional work?
Yeah, well, number one, I'm more content with my work because I tend to attract things that I want to be working on. I speak up when I want to work with particular people. For my clients, I've been able to develop my own clients that, I can kind of share my thoughts with. So it's brought a lot of fulfillment into my legal work. And then also too, it just changes the lens of, I'm happy with my legal work as being a part of my life, and not that my life and my job are two separate things. Because so often we think we can separate the two, but that's impossible. And I think doing this work of, being okay to be authentic, and then also just being truthful with myself has really helped bring them together, and I no longer feel like I'm kind of, working both two different lives.
Like you're split. No, I love that. I had a funny thing happen the other day in my dating life. A guy that I went out on a date with said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that you're always working." And I'm like, "I'm not. I love my job. Like, it's work for me." Like, so I can relate to what you just said, because I think for most people, it's like this heavy thing that you like. It's like you, where you are is you, and you're happy. And then you have to go do this work thing. And I'm like, that's not my reality. Like, it really isn't. And I think, this work that you've done, and the fact that you've pointed out that that's where it got you, that's amazing. It's beautiful. And that's great. Like, it really is life changing. I don't think that, separating work from personal is like, a bad thing per se, because you want to take a vacation or whatever. But what I'm getting at is, it doesn't have to be these two heavy separate things, or this like separation from the real you. And I think, you hit the nail on the head. A lot of it has to do with just what is your attitude toward your work, but it begins with, what do you want for yourself? And then how does your work fit in? That's where it's a natural consequence. It becomes seamless.
Yeah. No, and we can't get those things that we want, such as a vacation, right? And disconnecting without kind of melding the two together. And to your point, I'm not saying that you have to work on vacation, quite the opposite, because I think once you do that work, you're able to speak up and say, okay, I'm taking a week-long vacation and I am not available, right? And then you put the work in to make sure that it's okay for you to do that. But I think so often we think that if we're not, available 24/7, if we're not responding all the time, that we're not going to advance. And that mindset puts a lot of burden on us. And unfortunately, it's not one that can be, that burden can't be maintained for the long term.
And it's not productive, honestly. And, and it's so funny that we're talking about this, because literally today is Friday. And I have been working like crazy all week because I'm going on vacation for a week. Right. Yeah. And I already know that I'm going to be at the beach, and I'm going to get some idea for one of my clients, and I'm going to write it down, and I'm going to call my team and all that. But I already am expecting that from a place of, because this is fun for me. Right.
Right.
But it's not from a place of, oh my God, I can't unplug. Oh my God, I can't spend time with my kids. So I love this. Kimberly, I could talk to you forever, but if I am a Latina attorney and I'm listening to this episode and I want to get involved, I want to learn more about your mastermind, like what are the next steps? How do I plug in? How do I get involved in your community?
Yeah, so you can visit us at latinalegalminds.com or connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm Kimberly Lopez Narbona on LinkedIn. Send me a message, but if you go to the website, you'll find all the details on the mastermind. You can also find the podcast. Would love to have anyone subscribe and follow us along. And then you can find us at Latina Legal Minds on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn as well.
When is the mastermind, or is it like an ongoing thing?
So we're kicking it off. The sessions start in September.
Okay.
So you're able to secure your seat starting next week to the general public. Right now, my Power Summit attendees get first dibs on the spot. So it's limited to 10 spots. And so those will be available starting next week, which July 21st.
That's exciting. I'm definitely going to check it out. I hope non-attorneys are welcome. That'd be super fun.
Yeah.
This is amazing. And now, Kimberly, I have to ask you a question that I ask every single guest because it is, the Care Sandwich podcast. What is your favorite sandwich? Tell us about your favorite sandwich.
I have so many. This is a tough question. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and so sandwiches were like a part of my life. But I think right now, probably like I love a good like Italian sandwich. So just like well crafted, good mozzarella, and I think that would be my favorite right now.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, I forgot that you were in New York. And it's funny because like I also like all sorts of sandwiches. And it's like a little nostalgic for me because for me, it was like the struggle meal. Like there was never anything to eat. So it's like, oh, put some vegetables and now you have a meal. Like in the middle of 2 pieces of bread and you got a meal. Slap some cheese on it.
Well, I went to Catholic school K through 8th and we had to bring a bagged lunch. There was no cafeteria options. And so everything was a sandwich. And so you'd be like a fancy kid or like really privileged if your mom was buying the sandwich at like the deli one day. And that was like a special treat because it'd be like on a Kaiser roll versus like sliced bread. So yeah, it was kind of like you really had to show your creativity through a sandwich.
Yeah, that's fun. Well, cool. Well, Kimberly, is there anything else that you'd like to share for our audience, attorneys, people in the legal space about how can we support based on, what you've learned and the work that you're doing? How can we support Latinas in the legal space?
I would just say be a voice, and your success really paves the way for so many. And so even every little thing you do, you don't have to create these monstrous projects or be Sonia Sotomayor on the Supreme Court. Of course, that's such a role model. But every little thing that you do and you persevere in really creates the path for others. So speak up about your experiences because it really can shed light for others and pave the way for others.
And pat yourself on the back. Hype yourself up, Kimberly, and the rest of you all listening. We got to get into the habit, ladies. Awesome.
Yes, we do.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for tuning into this episode. We'll see you on the next episode of Care Sandwich.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Care Sandwich. Remember, the way we care for our clients, our teams, and ourselves can make all the difference in our success. Until next time, keep caring, keep growing, and I'll see you on the next episode of Care Sandwich.